Hi everybody and welcome back to Lost Genre Reddit Stories. This post is from the subreddit of my chest and it's by user BulkyMonitor4650. I am denying my ex-wife her last wish. So I, 45 male, had a previous relationship with Lucifer, names made up for privacy, 43 female. We were married for 5 years and dated for 7. From this, we had 3 kids. Again, names are made up for privacy. Dean, 21 male, Kylie, 19 female, and Jax, 17 male. Context: a few months before I filed for divorce, I noticed Lucifer becoming increasingly controlling and paranoid. Like, if I went out, she needed to know where I was going. For example, when I went to my nan's flat to help her, along with my uncle, to get some new heavy furniture inside the flat. Despite the fact that I had told her earlier where I was going, she demanded to know where I was going. I researched why these types of things might happen and found out it might be a sign of cheating. Turns out I was right. Basically, a friend of mine saw her and another man kissing and flirting inside a restaurant where he was with his siblings and mom. He sent me photos. I then filed for divorce, blah blah blah. You get the idea. I don't really care what I got in the divorce, I only pushed for 80-20 custody and to keep my money. Surprisingly, she didn't contest anything but the custody. I got 70-30 instead of 80-20. But hey, I picked myself up because I still had majority custody. Anyway, this year, my ex got terminal cancer. When Dean told me, Kylie and Jax, I didn't really care. I comforted my kids, but personally, I didn't care. In fact, I'm ashamed of myself because of this. I was kind of excited to get full custody of Jax. Dean has already moved out and Kylie decided she wanted to stay with only me when she turned 18. So, a few days after, I got a call from Dean. He told me that Lucifer was bedridden and she had asked Dean to talk to me. Basically, her last wish was to have one last conversation with me. I told Dean quite bluntly, I'll admit, that no, I would not talk to her. All care I had for this woman evaporated when I found out she cheated on me. Dean understood but told me to expect a call from his maternal side as they had basically treated her like the world revolved around her in her last few months. Somehow, my ex-in-laws got my number and have been bombarding me with texts and calls, calling me heartless and evil for not granting my ex her final wish. My kids and my ex's cousins, whom she never got along with, are on my side, but all of Lucifer's family and a few mutual friends are on her side. Thanks for listening, Reddit. Well, OP, I know you're not asking for judgment or any kind of opinion, but I'll give you my 2 cents. I think you're free to do whatever you want. If you don't want to see her, talk to her, or anything, well, that's your prerogative, and of course, nobody can force you to do it. I'm not gonna judge you if you don't, of course, because, well, you've got your reasons. And whatever your ex-in-laws or some of your friends think about this, well, that's their opinion and that's as far as it goes. If I was in your shoes, the only opinion that would matter to me is that of my kids. Your kids back you, that's good enough for me. Now, if things get a little bit unhinged with her family, you know, that they start harassing you or stuff like that, I would keep all of these messages or posts or whatever it is they're using to harass you as evidence and maybe file for a restraining order. And what do you guys think about OP's situation? What would you do if you were in his shoes? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's check out the community comments. Mr. Couch pulls out, I don't, says, so, let's cut through the noise and get straight to the point, shall we? Your ex-wife cheated on you, lied to you, and betrayed your trust. You have every right to feel hurt, angry, and even indifferent towards her, especially considering the circumstances of your divorce. Her terminal illness doesn't erase the pain she caused you or absolve her of responsibility for her actions. You're under no obligation to fulfill her last wish, especially if it brings you more distress than closure. Your priority should be your own well-being and that of your children. If talking to your ex-wife would only reopen old wounds or cause unnecessary turmoil, then it's perfectly reasonable to decline. Don't let anyone guilt-trip you into doing something that goes against your own sense of peace and integrity. Stand firm in your decision and focus on what's best for you plus your family. In the end, you owe nothing to someone who shattered your trust and disrespected your marriage. It's okay to prioritize yourself in this situation. Effed in the Head says, at one point you loved this woman, so much so that you married and had children with her. I know there's bad blood now, but she's gotten her karma and cancer is seriously painful and debilitating. One day, once the bitterness wears off, you'll think back that you could have been a better person, but you let your past keep you from being the better person, leaving you to be no better than the other person. I've had this sort of thing happen, and it's the one thing I super regret, not clearing the air and adding more pain and suffering than they were already dealing with. You do what's best for you though, and your best chance at your most fulfilling and happy life. Big hug. MMA Rapmos WeOS says, I'm sorry you have to deal with this, but please start blocking these a-holes from contacting you. And Dopey responds, I have every intention to. Thanks for the advice anyway. And Mad Panda 75 says, you do you and I can't fault you for not feeling empathy here. One thing that's got me baffled is, you had 70-30 custody for your youngest after your daughter turned 18. Did you not talk to your ex at all? I assume you must have to make arrangements for drop-offs, holidays, etc. Is it the context of the talk that you're dreading, that you feel she wants to apologize and bring up past trauma? Because it can't just be seeing her and or talking to her, which you must have done on many occasions through the years. You say your kids don't mind, but ask yourself if that is true. I don't blame you for not wanting to give her closure, even though it may help you as well. But really make sure that your kids won't hold this against you in the future. She sounds horrible, but she's also their mother, and I'm worried they aren't being fully honest here, and you seem to care about them very much. In the end, you can only decide for yourself. Good luck with this very difficult decision, and keep being a kick-ass dad. And Opie responds, I decided not to mention it, but my kids were all still kids when this happened and I got 70-30. My two oldest both decided they wanted to stay with me full time until they moved out. This was discussed with some pushback with my ex. I didn't mention it in my post because I saw it as irrelevant. Thanks for your advice and compliments. Okay, so most of the upvoted comments were for OP doing whatever he wanted. If he didn't want to talk to her, totally cool. And we also got some from people saying, you know, maybe you should talk to her and be the better person or whatever. Now, OP didn't give us any more context in the first post, but we do have two updates. So let's move on with the first one. First, thanks for all the advice, love, hate, and laughing about Lucifer's chosen name. Secondly, to all those saying she's getting her karma with cancer, stop. I might not like her, but I wouldn't wish cancer, let alone terminal cancer, on anyone, not even the woman who made my life a misery for a long few months. It's kinda messed up to say that sort of thing. I also want to talk about my resentment to my ex. To be clear, I do not hate her. Why? That would require me using energy thinking about her. I personally think this is energy wasted. I rarely have to do anyway. Even more rare now that two of my kids don't live with her part-time anymore. To the very few hurling insults at me, take a hike. If you're gonna give your opinion on something, do it respectfully. And now the tiny update. Many of you gave me the advice to not speak to Lucifer in person and instead write her a letter or make her a video. I have spoken to all of my kids collectively and asked them their opinions. I also told them that what was previously suggested above would be the only way I would grant her this wish. My kids all decided that whilst they would like me to speak to her, they totally understand if I don't want to. I told them that I'm seriously considering writing a letter or making a video for the 9th time in that conversation, but that I need more time to decide if that's what I want to do. So I turned to internet strangers again. Advice would be greatly appreciated. Edit. When I said video, I meant video call. Sorry for that. Well, the only thing I would add to this is saying that she's the one that wanted to talk to you. Why do you need to write her letter or you call her by video? I would say if you're open to that video call thing, then maybe you should let her know through your kids that she can call you at this date or the other through FaceTime or Skype. And that's it. Anyways, let's move on to the final update that was 5 months after the original post. Hi, it's been a while. A while ago I uploaded a post about my ex-wife, Lucifer, and also a small update that I didn't really consider a proper response one. I'm making this to update you all and answer a few questions. I'll start off with the two main questions. One was, did I talk to her? I ended up choosing not to. At first, a few months ago, I decided I would in person for the sake of my kids. However, upon arriving at the hospital, I began hyperventilating and nearly passed out. After this, I went back on my word and decided not to. I did not think risking my own life just to speak to someone I have not seen in a very long time was worth it. The second question is pretty much the same sort of thing. Did I make her a video, call her, or write her a letter? I also considered this. However, after I decided I might, something happened that made it impossible. Let me catch you up first. Shortly after my post, some of Lucifer's relatives that had been attacking me began to publicly attack me on social media. I was then attacked by even more people. Most of these people I did not know. The posts were taken down when my 3 kids sat down their mother's relatives and told them, in no uncertain terms, they would cut contact if this kind of thing continued. This seemed to stop it. I am incredibly grateful and feel blessed that my kids did this for me. They didn't have to, but they did. Shortly after this, we received news that Lucifer might actually come out alive. Basically, what was killing her had sort of become benign and the doctors were working on treatment. This was short-lived. Just last week, Lucifer passed in her sleep. My children and their family are incredibly upset. I have comforted my kids and done my best to support them the whole way through. My kids have decided to begin planning her funeral. I have decided to attend at the request of my eldest, Dean, and at the request of a mutual friend of mine and Lucifer's, who I'll call John, 42 male. He supported me despite still being friends with Lucifer through the whole divorce process. I feel as though I owe it to him. John has told me that he will sit with me and make sure none of Lucifer's family trouble me. My youngest and my middle, Jax and Kylie, have agreed to do a similar thing by speaking to the relatives and distracting them. Thank you for your continued support and compliments throughout the entire period since my first upload. Thank you as a whole, Reddit. Well, OP, first of all, my condolences to your kids. And regarding you, well, you tried, you just couldn't do it. That's as much as I can say about that. Hopefully her funeral goes without any drama from her family towards you, and then you can just move on. Take care, OP, and thank you for sharing. And now, let's move on to the next post that also has an update. This post is from the subreddit Am I the A-hole, and it's by user AccomplishedBar5656. Am I the a-hole for suing my parents for my college money? My great-aunt set up savings accounts for all of her female relatives. In our culture, education for women is not really valued, and she thought that was BS. She lived with her father in London, where she was educated. She went on to attend university and became a doctor. She married a British man. They moved to America and had a great life. She funded the education of as many of her nieces and grandnieces as she could. When she passed away, she left money for every girl relative she could. My parents managed to access the accounts that were set up for my sister and I. They used it to pay for my brother's wedding. My sister didn't care because she got married 2 years out of high school and had no intention of going to college. When I graduated, I went to the bank to get money for school and it was almost all gone. There was like $13,000 left. I asked my parents about it and they said they had needed the money. When I finally found out where the money went, I was furious. I got student loans and moved out. I am a great source of shame to them and I don't give 2 Fs. I am currently suing them for the money that was left for me. My entire family is against me. They all think I'm a complete a-hole for airing private family business in public and that I am putting money ahead of family. My friends are all on my side, but they are all Americans and don't really get my culture. Neither do I, to be honest. My brother called me up and offered to pay for my university if I dropped the lawsuit. I agreed, as long as we had a legally binding contract. He said I was being an a-hole for not trusting him. I said he should not have accepted my money for his wedding. It is causing all kinds of embarrassment in our community. I am somewhat ashamed to be doing this, but I don't want to have this debt I should not have. I might be the a-hole because I'm causing my family a lot of embarrassment in our community. So, am I the a-hole? What? No, OP, of course you're not the a-hole. Your parents stole money from you. Look, I don't know what culture you're from, and I don't really care to find out. Your parents stole money from you to use for your brother's wedding. Then when your brother stepped up to say, hey, don't worry about it, I'll pay for your college, just drop the lawsuit because our parents are embarrassed. The minute you said, sure, I'm just gonna try to keep you accountable, oh, you're a nay-hole. Yeah, you know what? F all of them, OP. They're expecting you to carry the load of that debt that you should not have, as you state, just because they wanted to throw your brother an extravagant wedding party or something. Because honestly, I don't know how much money there was, but if it was a college fund, that must have been one hell of a party. But now they're accusing you of bringing shame to them? Yeah, again, they can go F themselves, OP. Stick to the lawsuit and get your money back. And what do you guys think about OP's situation? What is your judgment? Let me know in the comment section, and now let's move on to the community comments to see what they said. Timely Ask 1327 says, not the a-hole. Your parents didn't borrow your money, they stole it. I hope you have all the documents to show that money was yours. Your brother is also the a-hole for trying to get you to drop a lawsuit with what is most likely a lie. If you have a chance to start life without student debt, you do whatever you can to do that. Your parents, and I'm sorry, but their culture sounds completely toxic. I'm glad you got out. And OP responds, the student law center at my university is helping me with everything. I have proved that the money was mine. I am trying to do everything I can so this does not become a criminal matter. Kavuk27 says, not the a-hole. Your parents and your brothers had the opportunity to keep this a private matter when you told them you would sue them if they didn't return the money or pay for your schooling. Since you have already been betrayed by family members you trusted, your brother should not be offended that you want a written contract. And Mopper300 says, they think you are an a-hole for holding them accountable for their awful actions. They thought you would be a pushover, but you are showing them you are not. Your great aunt would be proud of you, and you aren't the one putting money ahead of family. They did when they stole your money. They already showed you how little they think of you or respect you or love you as a family member when they screwed you over. Not the a-hole, obviously. Alright, well, the community unanimously agrees that OP is not the a-hole. So now, let's move on to the update that is 1 year after the original post to see how this story ends. It's over, I got my money, and just to make it clear, the money stolen was enough that I could have attended any American college for 4 years. I have also pretty much been disowned by my family, but I consider that a win as well. My lawyer started asking for documents that would eventually show that there could have been legal, jail time, not just financial consequences for my parents, since my parents committed fraud to get my money. Then they agreed to pay me back. My parents ended up having to mortgage some property to pay me back for what they stole. My family is embarrassed that I forced them to this point after they had offered to pay me back in installments. But nobody is willing to answer me when I ask what would make my parents pay me back if I was stupid enough to trust them. I have been told that I will never find a husband from our culture with my belligerent attitude and strident independence. I laughed. I do not want anything to do with that culture except perhaps enjoy the food. I plan on never returning to that country. I am enjoying the independence I have achieved, and I'm more than happy to know that several others of the young women in my family have taken steps to lock down the education funds left for them. Well, OP, I find that to be a happy update. You've got your money and now you're able to live your life on your terms. So here's wishing you the best in the future, OP. Thanks for sharing and take care. And that's it for today's video. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch it. Now, if you've gotten to this point in the video, I assume that you like these stories that I'm reading out. So here are a couple more that you might enjoy. And if you don't have any time to watch another story right now, save it for later. And also, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.